Days 45 to 46 from Boseman, Montana to Glacier National Park. So I started the day off in Boseman in this amazing computer history museum, and the amount of stuff they have on display and the things they have there is just mind-boggling. They have the first Apple computer donated by Steve Wozniak, and they have one of the first copies of the Windows operating system that actually has Bill Gates' number listed for tech support, donated by Bill Gates. And they have the first silicon wafer, and they have the first binary computer, and the first commercial computer, and a whole bunch of stuff from the Apollo mission, and the actual flight computer from the Minuteman intercontinental ballistic missiles. And in their gift shop, I noticed they have a lot of Star Trek items. So I made a joke that I guess in the question of Star Wars or Star Trek, there's Star Trek. And that's when they told me another thing that completely blew my mind. And I consider myself a Trekkie. So in the Star Trek movie, The First Contact, that first contact between the humans and the Vulcans takes place on the ruins of what used to be Boseman, Montana. So that was a very interesting fact to learn. And then I had a pretty long drive from Boseman to Missoula with a few stops on the way. And whereas Wyoming was rugged, Montana is freaking wild, and it was just at the start of the hunting season, so people would just pull over on the side of the road and go shooting their guns, practicing in the fields. My next stop was something called Medicine Buffalo Jump. Before there were horses and before they had guns, how did Native Americans hunt buffalo? They hid a couple of people on the way of the herd, and their task was to carefully and skillfully spook the lead animals to lead them to a bluff or a hill from which they would just tumble down. And the herd would follow them and tumble down after them. And then the people would just finish them off and take them apart for meat and skins and bones and cartilage and horns and everything else that they had made use of. And this site in Montana is a state park where Native Americans hunted buffalo. As I was coming off the interstate to go to Medicine Buffalo Jump, I saw a sign for Missouri River Headwaters, and I was like, no freaking way. I was already at the Mississippi Headwaters, and this is the second greatest American river. I absolutely have to check it out. So I get there, and it's another state park, and it is the headwaters of the Missouri River. Unlike Mississippi, which flows out of a lake, Missouri starts at the confluence of three rivers: Madison River, Gallatin River, and Jefferson River. So first, the Madison River that flows out from Yellowstone meets the Jefferson River. And then about a mile down south, they meet up with Gallatin River that comes from the Gallatin Range, also around Yellowstone. And then it becomes the Missouri, which, as it turned out, well, at least for me, was the primary mission of the Lewis and Clark expedition, to find the headwaters of the Missouri River. And then onwards towards Missoula, Montana, where I camped at a great campground with these cutest little guys for neighbors. And Missoula is a very nice town with a beautiful boardwalk along the river and a very nice university campus, but unfortunately my phone just died, so I don't have any pictures. Day 46 took me pretty much straight up north from Missoula towards Glacier National Park. And the drive was just gorgeous, especially closer to Glacier when you get to Flathead Lake, which is one of the biggest glacial lakes in the world and the biggest one in the United States. In the evening, I made it to my final destination, which was a great boondocking place on the shores of Blankenhead River, And Eric, the geologist guy that I met around Jackson, pointed me to it. So that was great. So the first stop of that day was around a small, tiny place called Arlee, Montana. And there is a beautiful Buddhist garden there. It's called the Garden of 1,000 Buddhas. They really have 1,000 Buddha statues. And just like the dissonance of this whole thing, you know, you have this wild, rugged Montana with its plains and its mountains and its gun-toting people. And there is this beautiful Buddhist garden with the statues and the pagodas and the reflection pool. And it just had this amazing sense of peace and quiet and tranquility. And I was very tired because it's been a very enjoyable but still a very, very long trip. And I knew I had just as much to go, if not more. And I was a little bit under the weather. So to stroll in the garden and to enjoy the peace and the quiet and to read the little quotes from Buddha that were scattered here and there. It was basically exactly what the doctor ordered. So if you're ever in northwestern Montana, 1,000 Buddhas of Arlee is definitely a place to check out. And then Gracie and I had celebrated our 10,000 miles together. And the road keeps taking you north through the Beetroot Valley towards Glacier National Park. And first you go to Flathead Lake, which again is a glacial lake. So the water is of this indescribable, amazing color. And it was almost dusk. So the pictures don't do it justice, but trust me, this is definitely a place to put on your must-do list. And this lake house is on my must-buy list.